Welcome back to the channel. Tonight I am planning something quite ambitious. It's going to take quite a bit of editing, but what I'm going to do, and in an attempt to keep this video so that you can watch the entire thing and not make it an hour long, is compare soft, hard, and black Arkansas natural stones to a Naniwa Diamond 1000, 3000, and 6000 stones, and take pictures with each of their scratch patterns. So I'm going to be using my Victorinox chef's knife to give the Arkansas stones an equal chance, or an even chance, because this has an HRC of about 58, 56 to 58. And if I went with something like MagnaCut or M390, I'm not really comparing the ability of the natural stones to sharpen. That's for a different test. I do want to compare the feel, the feedback, and the scratch pattern of a natural stone to a synthetic stone. So we're going to start off by sharpening the knife before we get to the soft stone and the 1000. We're going to start with a scratch pattern coming from the Atoma 400 grit, which is below the soft Arkansas stone grit or scratch pattern, and below the 1000. So let's take a look at what the blade, the bevel, looks like with the Atoma 400 scratch pattern and under magnification. Here we go. Okay, so that's what the 400 Atoma scratch pattern looks like. And don't worry about the burr. I'm going to try and remove the burr as much as I can without stropping on diamond paste. I'll be using alternating forward strokes on the sharpening stone to minimize the burr. But pay attention to the scratches in the bevel, not the burr at all. For the Arkansas stones, I'm going to be using this Norton sharpening stone oil. That works really well. So let's come on over and start with the Arkansas soft stone. So we're going to spread the oil out, across the stone, and let's get to it. To stay on track of time, I'm going to be speeding up and cutting out some of the videos from stone to stone. I'll show the start of it, but this is going to show roughly 20 to 25 passes on each side, and then the deburring process. All right. So let's clean the oil off and take a look at the bevel. You can see that the Arkansas soft stone has a finer grit pattern than the 400. Okay, now we're moving on to the hard. Let's put some drips of oil on. As I was sharpening on the hard Arkansas stone, I did feel like it was an aggressive grit progression, and the stone seemed quite a bit smoother than what I would normally expect if I was using a synthetic or a ceramic stone. So that's something to keep in mind, is that these are about certain grit ranges, and each stone is going to be different. All right, now we'll wipe the oil off and take a look at the scratch pattern again. Here you can see the hard stone on the top. It has a more refined and smaller scratch pattern than the Arkansas soft stone, which is exactly what we'd expect. Okay, and now we're coming to the black Arkansas stone. This stone I actually happen to have slightly a larger stone of. This is a 10-inch by 3-inch instead of a 8-inch by 3-inch. But that just means there's more sharpening surface. And this is the smoothest out of the stones, Arkansas stones, that I own. One of the downsides is the oil on these Arkansas stones. It's flammable. You may need to use separate rags, and it's just overall messy. All right, let's take a look at what the black Arkansas stone looks like under the microscope. Here you can see the black stone is even more refined, and we're starting to get a polish even compared to the hard stone. All right. Continuing on, you've now seen the scratch patterns from the soft, the hard, and the black Arkansas stones. Now we're going to go, I already set this back to 400 with the Atoma. We are going to go with the Naniwa 1000, 3000, and 6000 stones, because these most closely correlate with the scratch patterns according to this Gritomatic chart, because we're using the JIS grit system when we're using the Naniwa. So trust me, this is a lot of information, but with the stones I've got, the 1000 most closely represents the soft. The hard, if I had the hard Arkansas, most closely resembles a JIS 2000. And then the black represents about a JIS 5000 to 6000. So we're in the ballpark. But let's take a look at the scratch patterns after we get the chef's knife across the Naniwa. As I speed this video up for you, one thing that you will start to see that you may not have noticed as much on the Arkansas stones is just the amount of material that the Naniwa stones are removing. You can see a dark pool or a dark puddle, there you go, of metal that's being removed during this time. Here you can see that the Naniwa 1000 grit stone has done a good job of removing the coarser scratches of the Atoma 400. All right, now we're on to the 3000. And one thing that's not going to be an argument is the cutting speed of the diamond Naniwa stone to the Arkansas stone. the diamond just cuts faster. So that's a huge benefit. But again, we're comparing kind of scratch pattern and aesthetics. Some of the kind of intangible things. Some people insist on sharpening without a honing solution, but you can see in this video just how effective having a slurry is to keep it from blinding your diamonds and keeping your stone cleaner. All right, let's wipe it down and take a look under the microscope. Here you can see that the 3000 is more refined than the 1000 grit, which is expected. Okay, and now finally to the 6000. One thing that's still impressive as I sharpen on the 6000 grit stone is as the slurry builds up, you can still see how much material is being removed even at the 6000 grit level. When I pull forward on these alternating strokes, you can see quite a bit of material. And let's take a look. And here you can see the 6000 edge is even more refined and starting to get polished. Here's the Naniwa 1000 versus the Arkansas Soft. The Naniwa 3000 versus the Arkansas Hard. And the Naniwa 6000 versus the Arkansas Blackstone. All right, now here's a paper cutting test after the Naniwa. It's very sharp. Very, very sharp. So, how did it compare to the cutting of the Arkansas stone? Now let's take a look at how the Arkansas stones sharpened in terms of their cutting performance. Pretty good. I wouldn't say it's quite as good. It's not quite as curvy. It's a little catchier. Definitely still usable. But there's parts that are slightly imperfect. So take a look at the breakdown here. I graded speed, the feedback or the feel of the stone, edge quality, the consistency, the maintenance required for each stone, the price, and then the overall learning curve. So who should buy what stone? If you're somebody that enjoys the process of sharpening, you like traditional tools, you have mostly softer steels or kitchen knives that you'll be sharpening, or you're just starting out, Arkansas stones are how I started out. They're a great investment. They last a very long time. If you're somebody that wants to get higher speed and precision out of your sharpening process and get your blades back up and running as fast as possible, and price isn't as critical, or you're going to be sharpening super steels like MagnaCut, M390, S45VN, Meximet, then you're going to want to go with the Naniwa Diamond Resin Stones. You're going to need diamonds to cut super steels. As far as the cutting test, what I think happened is the Naniwa stones performed excellent. They cut the paper and I could curve the knife in and out of the paper and cut heel to toe without any edge spots where it was hanging up. I was able to cut the paper in straight lines using the Arkansas stones, but when I was trying to get more detailed curvy cuts with the knife, it was catching. And why I think that is because with even number of strokes on each stone, there just weren't enough strokes, and I did about 20 per side. That's not enough on the Arkansas stones. So had I gone to 40 or 60 strokes per side, especially when you get to the black stone, because that's really not removing a lot of material. That's one theory. The other theory is that diamonds, so I did not strop any of these after. I did remove the burr using forward alternating strokes, getting lighter and lighter with each pass. I did that on the Naniwa and on the Arkansas stones. My guess is that the burr was getting removed more efficiently and quicker on the Naniwa with the diamonds, because again, the Arkansas stones cut and remove material slower. So let me know what you think below in the comments. As always, I really appreciate you watching this, liking it, subscribing, leaving a comment, sharing this with anybody that you think would find this interesting. And if you want to see what happens when I throw the Naniwa stones and an aluminum oxide stone at MagnaCut, check out the video right up here. I'll leave that there for you. As always, thank you so much for watching. Dan for All out.